Okay. Sweet. Guys, welcome to the Wolf Blood 3 podcast. We're chatting with Rob, aka Digital Asset News. Super excited. Talking about all things life, entrepreneurship, crypto land. We've been able to become more friends in the last year or so, or maybe like half year or so since I joined Wolf, and making content all around. And it's been cool. Obviously, I've been watching you. You're a long time OG creator, so it's been really great to connect with you. And yeah, man, just really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be here, Kate.
Let's get it. You know, actually, can I open with this question? Actually, you're filming, and this has been the location for a long time. But you got a pool behind you. Like, what's that about? Like, is this the studio? Is this like the home studio? Is this like the place just where you film, or like what's going on here?
So this is what I tell people all the time is it's a green screen, but it's not a green screen, obviously. But I tell people that because I was tired of throwing stuff in my pool, and then I had to like go into my pool and actually get the stuff out. So like people would say, this guy's a liar. And I'm not a liar. And I throw stuff in there, and then I'm like, damn it, I got to go get this stuff out. So like this, I mean, me and my wife have been here 25 years. So this is just our, like we have the house, and this is the attachment to it. We had a pool, and then over time we said, we're going to, enclose it because the winters get kind of sucky here in El Paso. So we just did it like this. And now here it is. You know what it's like? It's like the markets that people are into right now. Like it starts out small, like back in the day, like this, and like reasonable house. But 25 years ago, this house was like just over 100K. And then like for everything, and then like half an acre plot of land. And now, of course, it just balloons up. So it's like, I know people are like, we'll get in the market later, but this is a prime type of look-alike for the market. Like it sucks, because it's like it starts off kind of small, but then everything grows.
Yeah. Right on, dude. Right on. Well, I appreciate the breakdown, and I won't ask you to throw anything into the pool or do a cannonball or anything along those lines, even though that's pretty funny. I'm sure you can find those clips on YouTube. I bet. Like, I know you've got a whole YouTube channel. Actually, while you're mentioning that, let me actually pull it up. Let's see if I can share my screen real quick. For people who don't know, I'm sure you do. If you're watching this, you more than likely know exactly who he is. But if not, let's dive into it. Like, I think you guys should be able to see my screen. This is his YouTube channel. Let me go into here. Digital Asset News. He's been streaming for a long time. 350K. He's out here. If you guys are looking for someone who's consistent, covering the markets, he chats with Ben Cohen and Guy from dude. Those guys are also OG. Super cool. Respecting the industry. They're doing a lot of streams together. So definitely check him out. Get him on Twitter as well. Get him back into our Wolf Spaces, baby. But yeah. Anyways, I'll bring it back to us. But yeah, I'm sure you can find those clips on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we can find all these things like, but it's like I've been doing this since late 2019. I think I started this channel like November 2019 because my family and friends were sick of me talking to them about it. So I'm like, well, since I'm pretty much retired, I haven't worked for anybody since like 2016. I was like, well, I might as well bring this open to YouTube, and maybe I find a couple of people there who might want to listen to me. So here I am.
That was the inception behind the YouTube channel. You were like, let me just start posting some stuff.
Yeah. I was actually getting very bored because like, and this is the thing that we talk about on the channel. Like, I don't care how much money you make or how big you make it. If you don't have purpose in your life, it's not going to do you any good. And like, there was this, I think it was Mark Cuban. I think he was given an interview to, I forgot who it was, but he talked about how like some of his friends are the most miserable people you'll ever meet in your life. And these are like multi, 100 millionaires, billionaires. And they said, and it really comes down to like, if you don't have this drive or this passion or something to actually, your North Star, your life's going to suck. And I know like when people, they think, well, if I just make this money or make that, and I'm like, I'm telling you from experience, once you make it, if you don't have some type of driving force, if you don't have like the family, the kids, the life, the whatever direction, it's going to be very tough for you. So figure that out now, and then hopefully you can find the money later.
Like if you weren't doing the YouTube thing, what do you think you may have leaned into if it wasn't YouTube? Was there any other passions you had, or maybe you're doing in real life, therapy sessions on money with some of your friends? Like, yo, you got to buy Cardano, you got to buy XRP. This is the move. Like,
I would probably be doing like before I got into this, I was in the military and I was a combat medic. And then I went into medical device sales, and then I went into home health. And I worked in the hospital in numerous different locations. I would probably go back to healthcare. because it's a rewarding job. It's a rewarding career, and you can do it for a very, long time, as long as you're competent enough. I would probably be back there, or I would probably be working more closely with my wife and doing real estate types of things, which I got to tell you is not the greatest and most fun thing to do, but it is quite lucrative. Yeah.
I hear the opposite. Maybe it's from people who don't know, but like I always heard like real estate, dude, this is the answer. This is the move. You got to try it out.
No. Okay. So that is the move if you want to gain assets, because Kate, what attracted us to this space was the ability to own and control our own assets, because we weren't really getting too far ahead with other things. So like with crypto digital assets, great, I have assets. With gold and silver, I have precious metals. With businesses, okay, I own my business and I have assets within the business. And of course, with land and property, I have other assets, real estate assets. So it works out very well for you in your favor for long-term, short-term rentals. It works very well for you if you're taking a look as far as like depreciation of the value of the asset, to use that in your taxes. It works very well. The problem is, and people who own real estate will tell you this, it depends on if you're on long-term like rentals, like, you rent it for like a year, rent it for 18 months, whatever else, or you're in short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO. So if you're doing long-term rentals, as long as you got a good tenant, everything's pretty sweet. Everything's pretty great. When you have a crappy tenant, it's really tough. It's a big pain in the A. And like my wife, she has her own apartment complexes, and there's always a problem over there. And then of course, if you're doing like short-term rentals, like we do in Houston, El Paso, and Puerto Rico, you have a lot of problems and you have a lot of questions to answer. Like, hey, I can't get in. Hey, what's the code for this? Hey, there's a leaky this. Hey, there's that. It's a constant barrage. It's lucrative and it's good and it's great to pass on to your heirs. But I got to tell you, like people say real estate's the answer. It is the answer in that regard, but you just bought yourself a nice job.
Yeah. So it's funny. My dad was just in town. He left a few hours ago and we were talking about it. And he was like, dude, Cade, he's like, you're making a little bit more money now. You're rising up in the world. He's like, you really should tap into this. My friend, he runs some Airbnbs and things like that. And I was like, dude, I think that's a good idea. I just feel like it's not as easy as people say. I feel like it's not as easy as buying that thing, listing it, and now you're you're making gold. I feel like it's just not how it is, but it is something that's very interesting to me. And if you know some people maybe, and you're able to sort of, my biggest fear was always you buy the thing and you're like, okay, now I got a big fat bill at the end of the month and I got to fill this thing up and I don't find the right people, I'm screwed.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, your dad is right. It is a pretty good, especially if like to diversify, like we're always looking for that next diversification, and he's right. It's just that, when you talk about like at the end of the month, I'm screwed if I don't I don't crack that nut. Right. So if your mortgage, if you buy a property, let's say you have a house and wherever you're at, let's say it's $350,000, whatever it is. Right. And you're paying 6.25%, 7%, whatever the rates are right now. If you're not making $3,500, per month, and you're not cracking it, now it has to come out of your pocket. So you can look at it one of two ways. You can like, damn it, I'd really like to make some extra money. But then you have to also remember like, well, I have to not only crack that nut and make that money, but what if there are some kind of repairs that are needed? Well, now I have to have a fund for that. And then also there's this thing called taxes. And if taxes go up, then I have to have something for that. So you can look at it like that way, or the other way is like right now, we have a house right now that is only partially rented we have Sergeant Major Academy students here in El Paso, Texas. And we say, well, it's a bummer because we're short $600 on the mortgage. But the good part is that the asset itself, the house, is appreciating. And because of the depreciative value at some points for the house, because, over 30 years, you could take these tax benefits, you're like, well, that part is good. So you look at it like, I'm not cracking that. It sucks. On the second part, we know that assets go up. And we take a look at the average median income or the average median home price over the last 10 years. You're looking at, again, like somewhere around 240. No. It was $232,000 like 10 years ago. And now we're looking at $428,000. Correct me in the comment section. Right now, median average house prices, that's essentially what it is. So if we're looking at assets, that's actually a good thing to do, but it just takes a long time to kind of build that up.
Man, dude, that's a very, very interesting world. I think what were we going to say? It looks like you're going to keep going.
Sorry, I was going to tell you one more thing. I have there is something else that we do that I don't talk about on my channel that much, and I don't really like to talk about it, but loans. And so one of these days when I step down from my channel, which will be soon, hopefully when the bear market or the bull market really rips.
Oh.
So when the bull market rips next time, the idea is to step down from the channel and let everything subside. And I won't come back until the bear market, because nobody needs me and my big head to talk to them about what they should be doing in the bull market. They're going to figure that out. I've already told them when the bear market comes, that's when everybody needs us, right? That's when people need, you know, Cade and his really low key manner and very, very smooth presentation skills.
And very low key glasses.
Exactly. But moving forward, there's this sub market. And if you do it the right way, as far as like with loans, look, everybody's looking for that American dream, or wherever country, the Portugal dream, the El Salvador dream. And a lot of that comes down to home ownership. Sometimes people are a little bit short in that regard, so they need a loan somewhere. So if you know, when you get into real estate, Cade, which I think you're going to start to meet a lot of these different agents. And the agents are going to like say, they might talk to you and say, hey, you know, if you have any extra funds and we could work something out, you can give loans to people who are a little bit short, and you can be on the lien of the house. So there's less risk to you. So what it'd be is like, oh, you're short this much? Okay, here's X amount. The rate is this. It's a little bit higher because it's a personal loan. You can pay it off. There's no prepayment penalties. But, you know, if something goes wrong, goes sideways, I don't lose the funds because it's tied up in the collateral of the house. So that will be the next level. So Cade, your dad's right. Start with a little bit of real estate. Get that bull run, do the things you're supposed to do, you know you're supposed to do. And then maybe as time goes on, I might do a video or something about how it is. I got to ask my wife though. She's the genius behind that. She knows.
Does she ever come on the channel?
No. She's like, you can talk about that nerd stuff all day. No, I was kidding. She says, I mean, she loves it, but she's tired of me talking about it. But she's very happy with her portfolio since she's been doing bear market investing. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. I was going to, before we move on, I was going to say, for anyone who's watching, especially on X, if you're watching the X stream, please retweet it. I haven't checked out fully how the Twitter stream works, but I think if you can retweet it, comment, like let people know that we're live on X. And if you're on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe, and definitely check out Rob's stuff. All his stuff is down below in the description. I want to ask this because we're kind of still at the beginning of the conversation. We've already hit it off with a win, a couple big info drops on real estate. I think people have already taken some value, but as we dive deeper into kind of you and some of the things you've been working on, what is something that maybe would help contextualize the conversation, some of the things you talk about as far as some of your values and some of the things you think about and how you orient your life? What is something that maybe people should know that would help contextualize the conversation in a way where we might understand you better on a more human level, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, I think it can all, I mean, some of it can be summed up. Well, take a step back. If you can contextualize what I'm trying to do, I think that's the big thing. It's for the people that are watching my channel to not do the same mistakes that I did. And some days I don't really want to do a video, I'll be honest with you, but I feel like, okay, there's some information that should be sent out, and some of those things, and I keep seeing the same mistakes, and that's why I have these 5 rules on the lower left-hand corner of my channel. And one of the big things is, and the very first thing as far as like investment, because I can't, like we just talked about, I can't give you drive, I can't give you motivation, I can't give you purpose. But what I can do is I can kind of help you to steer you away from some of the screw ups that I've done. So you don't have, I mean, you have to learn from mistakes. They don't have to be your mistakes. So the first one is this, I say it's all gone. And people say, what's that? Well, it's don't invest more than you can afford to lose. So right there, like, I think right now I'm running into this problem. I don't know about you, Cade, on your channel, but it seems like people get a little bit more antsy and nervous. And I think it's because they went a little bit too hard and heavy and say, like, I mean, we can say Bitcoin, maybe it's Ethereum, maybe it's Pepe, maybe it's meme coins. I don't know what it is, but it seems like some people are cool and calm, and you can tell them because they're like, hey, this dip's pretty good. I'm accumulating. Other people that like contact me and like, hey, I'm way down. What the hell's going on? It's because of the cycles like we always talk about. So that's pretty much the first thing. And then the second thing when I'm talking about it is I talk about like everything's a scam. It's all a scam. And what I mean by this, it's not how much you make. it's how much you keep. And unfortunately, I'd say about once every couple of weeks, I get somebody who's lost half of their savings, all their savings, or they've lost a huge amount. And like the most heart-wrenching ones are the ones where like, what am I going to tell my wife? Because I got into this thing and it looked really good and it wasn't. I always say everything's a scam until proven otherwise. The next one is don't leave everything on exchanges. When I got in, people told me about this mythical Mount Gox, which I thought was whatever, boomers. I don't care about you, which is funny because like I'm old now. I've always been old. It seems like old soul. But I said, that'll never happen to us, right? And then of course, here comes FTX, here comes Voyager, here comes Celsius, here comes BlockFi, and of course the whole thing's behind that with 3 Arrows Capital. Yeah. And then, so I always say like, don't get things on exchanges. Make sure you use cold storage devices, which is essentially what the OGs told me back in 2017, which I didn't listen to them. So I'm just trying to remind people to do that. The other one is don't use leverage, because God knows, I mean, if you're doing 25, 50, 100x leverage, that's just a recipe for disaster. And it's not about if, it's about when. And the last thing, and I think this is the hardest thing, Kate, I don't know about you, take profits. When I got in, it was taboo to say that you were going to take profits on anything, because when you said you're going to take profits, what you're telling people is like, I'm going to dump on you. And people hated that. So now I just tell people the truth. I'm like, look, I did my job. You did your job. We accumulated in the bear market. I will dump on you. And I say this in my live streams, which is probably why my subs are going down. Because I say, look, if you guys don't take, yeah. I'm like, look, if you don't take profits, I will dump on you. I'll dump on every single person that is in this chat. And they're like, but everybody knows me by now. It's like, well, at that point, I'll probably dump on you, Rob. I'm like, yes, exactly. That's what you should say.
Let's go.
So those are the rules, and those are kind of like around the channel itself.
Gotcha. It makes sense. I mean, it was something that you started on a passion point to dive into and kind of throw a lot of your energy into around the 2016 period, or 2016 to 2019 period. You mentioned that after 2016, that was the last time you ended up working either for someone or on something else. What was that experience? Was that a pivotal experience and you were like, that's it, I'm done?
Yeah, well, it was okay. This goes back to the purpose thing. So in 2015, me and my wife split. And what I did was I moved because I have family in Las Vegas. So I moved to Las Vegas. So if you're single person making quite a decent amount of funds and no real restrictions, it's kind of one of those places where it's this hedonism craziness, right? And you go through that. I went through that for 2 years, and 2015 and 2016. And then I figured out, I'm like, all these things that we do, it's like, there was this book from Tony Hsieh, and he was the Zappos CEO. And he talks about how there's 2 types of positivity or passions. And on one side, he had it would be like the rock star life, right? Which is like these parties and these events and these things and these drugs and these alcohol, right? But the time frame, it can only sustain you for so long, then it goes down. And on the second side, he talks about being a CEO and having passions and having direction. And he talks about building a business, helping people around him, making sure that everybody is on his same level, and then doing the next big thing. And you could see the time level, how long it would take versus how long it would take over here for just these short-term dopamine hits type of thing that really don't mean much to you. And I read that book and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But when I lived it over 2 years, I'm like, that makes total sense. So now it's, my wife got back together, kids are already grown up, got 2 grandkids. So it's like, everything's good to go, from here. But during that time, when I was there, I worked at a nationwide home health company. And I would go to talk to doctors and patients and just make sure that they were candidates to actually be in the home for a home health care. So I'd make sure their medications were up to date, to make sure their diagnoses were good. I give reports to the nurses and the therapists and things like that. And after about a year there, I'm like, I don't need to do this, because I had an online education website, and it was where I'd help medics and nursing students pass their clinical exams. So I teach people how to do like neurologic exams, cardiovascular exams, that type of thing, and then go through all the processes. And that one did just fine. So then I got into that and got into real estate. And that in Las Vegas, it was a pretty good time. This was before things went down the tubes. and things were, pretty good. But again, that 2 years right there of figuring out that if I trade my time for money, it's not going to be very positive for me in the long run for what I want to do. And second of all, the whole thing about finding real purpose in your life, that was the bigger thing that I came away with. And now here we are.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I did not know.
It was a long one. Sorry. Yeah.
Dude, totally fine. Totally fine. We're here to chat about it all. So I know I appreciate you sharing that. I'm kind of curious. So you were talking about the sort of like a hedonistic route that you took over in the Vegas world. I think a lot of people would probably associate Vegas with probably hedonism just in general. A lot of them haven't been. I've only been to Vegas like once or twice, so we only know the stories we hear on like the strip kind of thing. What was that experience like? Maybe I know you mentioned some of the things you pulled from there. Is there any other lessons you pulled from? I mean, you literally were right there in the spot that people talk about. A lot of people dream about it. They're like, dude, if I could just get out there for a few months, like I would change my life. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't know if that would be what happens if you went out to Vegas for a little bit,
It'll change your life. I'll tell you that. I love what changes. I love what change life. And you know what, Vegas, I mean, I still have friends there that are just, it's a weird thing. Cause like you'll have the strip Vegas and you have off strip Vegas, and off strip Vegas is just like the suburbs. You're like, hey, Joe, okay, how's it going? How's the wife? And yeah, sure, she's great. She's got to go, work at Circus tonight and whatever else. And that's just pretty much how it is. But then if you're in that hedonism type of lifestyle, I mean, it's pretty much whatever you want that you want to do. And it's actually where I pulled my experiences from, like the traders, those leverage traders that we all get in our comment section, like, bro, I'm up today big. I'm up today 250%. I'm like, okay, well, how you doing for the year? Oh, I'm down like 500%. But man, this last week was awesome. And I'm like, that is the exact same thing that my friends would say over the, for like the time that I was in Vegas. Like, hey, Pete, how you do today? Oh man, craps table, hot, fire. I'm up big time. How about for the year? Oh yeah, I'm down. My wife's pissed off. Yeah, that's how it is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is wild stuff, dude. I've never been interested in the gambling side of things. I've like I said, I've been to Vegas a couple times. Wasn't that interested in it. I saw the people, they were glued to the screen, pulling slots, whatever they were doing. Maybe they're on the table. I prefer the crypto side of gambling, which is what I would call most of the trading. Could you talk a little bit about that? I know you've had quite a bit of experience. I know you loaded up a couple cycles ago in the crypto world. Now we're here in 2024, potentially on the precipice of the biggest bull run of history, is what everyone's telling me. Yeah. Where are you at with it all?
Well, first of all, I like when you're on the show and, people see Cade come on the show. And they're like, okay, this is a young kid. He's got these little bit different green glasses and a nice, this little piece up here. And he's going to talk to us. First, you talk about Nearcoin. And then I think the sentiment was like, oh, this kid is going to talk about, he's going to go down to like number 50 type of cryptos. He's going to start to talk about meme coins and how we're going to do that. But when you said on the channel, you said, yeah, most of my, I have some near, but most of it's in Bitcoin and really stable stuff. I got a lot of message on just that section of when you talked about it. I go, that guy Cade really knows, what he's doing in such a short amount of time. I go, yeah, I told you. These are the people that I want on my show. So yeah. But let's go. That lesson that you learned took me a lot longer to learn. Again, it just happens. So in 2017, when I got in, I thought I was a genius because this is November 2017. I invested into mostly just Bitcoin and XRP, little Ethereum. Then when it went up, because, I had my friends were in equities and stocks, and they're like, oh, you're lucky to get a 10% annual return. And I got like a 10% on Tuesday. I was like, well, this is so easy. You guys are morons. But of course, as it went to December, and then all of a sudden there was the Bitcoin futures that were coming out on CBOE. I'm like, oh, it's going to jumpstart everything. December 17th was the day. And then of course, on the weekend after, it went from 19,900 to around 17,000. And then it kept dropping and dropping, but I kept hearing people talk about, well, I didn't sell because no one sold back then, and diamond hands, and it's going to keep going up and buy dips. I'm like, all right, I'm new to this, so I'll just do that. And I did that, and of course, we all got wrecked. Because in 2018, I was like, shoot, that was not what I expected. Maybe I'm not the smartest investor of all time. So then I started. My wife actually, she came to me and she's like, look, she goes, what do you want to do here? And she goes, you want to cut your losses? And I'm like, no. I go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this thing, because I would do a little research. I'm going to do this thing called dollar cost averaging. Warren Buffett talks about it. I think it's going to work out for us. She's like, well, what do you, she goes, are you sure? I go, I'm 100% sure. And I go, I didn't say, I said, I'm pretty sure. She says, well, yeah, I know how stubborn you are, so have fun. And that was it. And then I just started dollar cost average, and then I lowered that rate. And then we come into 2020, we have a halving, and then we go to 2021. And it's a funny thing, Cade, the same thing starts to happen that we saw in 2017. Diamond hands, never sell, going up forever. And then I heard this new thing I never heard before, super cycle. So for everybody who's listening right here, you're going to hear that same thing coming up in 2025. Never sell, diamond hands, buy the dip, super cycle. You're going to hear it again. I've already heard rumors of it already. But it's not a natural thing. It's not a natural thing for us. So when I was there, I was actually starting to buy into the super cycle theory. Fortunately enough, my wife, and we were talking about things, I go, I got to take some profits off the table. And we did, and we had some properties that we had to buy. So I took them off. It wasn't as much as I should have, but I seasoned reasonably well. And then I said, well, I'll just start accumulating in January and February. And then it just started going down and down. I was like, oh, there we are. So did I do everything right? No. Will I do things differently this time? Yes. Will I be perfect? Absolutely not. Just like Baron Rothschild said, I made all my money by selling too soon and never buying the bottoms.
Dang. That's good advice right there. That's good advice.
I try.
I think for me, I always watched people. I'm 26 right now, so I've always watched people in like my teens to very, very early 20s. Was people in their 30s, 40s, because I was like, these guys are a little bit ahead of me, and they've got the things that I want. I'm just gonna keep listening to them and just sponge up the information. Hopefully, at some point, I start to think a little bit more like them. And I think that maybe I think was helpful to sort of accepting certain things that maybe I would have just been too stubborn in the past. I just kept hearing it hammered in my head by very successful people. And I was like, you know what, dude, let me just try like hearing Benjamin Cohen over and over and over and over and over again saying, look, guys, I just hold Bitcoin. Like I make these videos, but like I'm pretty much stacking Bitcoin. You guys know my strategy. And I was like, dude, I just feel like you'll have a better time stacking altcoins. Like I just feel like this is the way. And I kept thinking that, And then I was like, but why would he not just do that if that was the case? Like maybe he's already rich, and I kept throwing all these scenarios out, and I was like, man. And then I started listening to really, really smart people. And and you can have your fun trading some of your altcoins and stuff. But I was in the camp of throw 75% of your net worth into the alts and pray to God. And then Bitcoin, maybe if you're already rich, you'll buy it. But I think the main problem was I didn't understand Bitcoin and what the value prop was, what the actual argument was, until I started to really think about it more intelligently and host some of these more spaces, focus on Bitcoin. And that was very helpful for me. I feel like it contextualized the crypto market in a way that it hadn't before. So I encourage anyone who's in the crypto, if you keep getting wrecked, if you spend a little bit of time and read the Bitcoin white paper, it's like 8 pages long. That was helpful for me. I very recently read that. So I can't even say that was a big reason. But if you start to understand Bitcoin, you're like, okay, now I get it. And it helps contextualize everything in a way where it makes sense. And then, at least in my head, as far as like doing okay in crypto, it's always, for me, been, I don't know about you, but it's more been about networking and finding the right people in the ecosystem and having a very, very, very long-term vision, not even really an end line and goal or end line goal in mind, but more just like having fun being here, find some cool people. And I like making content. So that's kind of where I leaned into it. I wanted to work in the industry as a creator. So that's really my angle with it. I'm curious on your perspective with it. I know you just mentioned that you're looking to pull out the next bull market and sort of let people do their thing and then come back to the bear market. Is that the plan long-term?
Yeah, that's a plan long term. But I will say, just to go back about Ben, I mean, I do a show with him every week, him and Guy from Coin Bureau or Nick from Coin Bureau. And off camera, we're always talking about this. And he's like, are you still buying altcoins? I'm like, yeah, I'm still buying altcoins. I goes, and we'll always talk about it like, well, is it a lot? I'm like, well, not really. I still have 70% of my of net worth in crypto in Bitcoin. And that's pretty much how it is. And the second thing is, is like, as far as like, is Ben rich? Ben's really rich. Ben's got 4 kids. He's got a wife that loves him. And I met her in Nashville, and he's helping a bunch of people, and he's healthy. So like,
he's got that chair. He's got that really nice wooden chair in the back.
He does have that wooden chair. Exactly. So, and then he just upgraded from his cardboard desk to, I think, a desk from like Home Depot or something. So he's loaded.
Uh,
So yeah, that's it. But yeah, the whole thing about moving forward and the whole plan, the plan is to constantly improve and to help improve those around you. And if you kind of just do that, everything kind of falls into place. I can't really help people that much. If I stick around, I think for this bull market, I'm afraid I might do something stupid again, like
mm.
start to say, well, maybe Bitcoin loans are the answer, or
Oh boy.
and
Here we
then
go.
because there's a thing, I'm like, maybe if I just set an example and say, look, it's sometimes not a bad idea to take profits, and if you don't want to take it, that's fine, because everybody's in their own investment time frame, right?
Mm.
Like some people, Kate, like you're younger guy, maybe you're just like, I just want here to accumulate for a very long time. Other people, they say, well, maybe I want to take a little bit of profits and then reinvest into something else. Maybe I want to stop working at this soul crushing job, this 9-to-5 cubicle that I hate. Or maybe it's people are like, I want to accumulate and then just leave these to my kids or to my grandkids or whatever else. So everybody's different. But for me, it's just, I just want to, get to this point where, okay, now we're like, everything's crazy hot, blow off top kind of levels. And I think this is the time for me. And I'll start to, like, I layered in, I'll layer out, do a couple of videos, and then I'll say, okay, everybody, thanks so much. Here's some good creators who you'd probably want to watch. Okay. And I'll see you when everything crashes.
Wow.
And then I'll do a cannonball in the pool.
Let's go. Yeah, I saw Shamana's question earlier. You'll have to rewind to the very, very beginning. We actually did talk about it. It was my first question was about the pool. I saw him commenting about that earlier. So I had this question, and it's because we're in a lot of these spaces, right? And I feel like X has taken has had quite a year, and the red pill and the black pill community have gone crazy viral a lot of the time. I'm sure that both sides of Twitter is going wild on both sides of the extreme end, but I'm seeing a lot of narratives being pushed around. I'm seeing a lot of, especially dystopian ideologies, dystopian just things going around. A lot of the movies I'm seeing in the theaters are horror movies, or they're dystopian in nature. Like, all the trailers are basically that. All of Netflix is obsessed with dystopian futures and stuff like that. So I'm curious on maybe your perspective on it, and are you propelled more by fear or excitement for the future? Is this something you think about? Is this something people should think about? When we were in Bitcoin Nashville, a lot of people who knew you were chatting with you. I could tell that a lot of people, whether or not they look up to you, they very much care about your opinion and your stance on things. You have a very level-headed, look on the world, I think, and something I'm interested in. So I was kind of curious on some of your perspective on that.
Yeah, so in our society, I think it's a lot of people will say that, I'm driven by success and I really want to get there to success. But as I was growing up and doing things, I really wasn't, and I knew that. And it wasn't until I read there was an interview from George St. Pierre, and one of the best UFC fighters, middleweight. And they asked him, they said, what motivates you? Is it to be the world champion? Is it to be the best you ever have? And he goes, no. He goes, quite honestly, I'm afraid that if I'm in the ring and someone pummels me and all the people that I care about see me lose. He goes, so I'm afraid that if I lose, that I will be diminished. He goes, so that's what drives me. So a lot of the things that people talk about, well, there's another phrase. Are you a gold medalist or a German Shepherd? Meaning, are you driven to that gold medal success, or are you running from fear from German Shepherds chasing you? And to me, a lot of times, there's a fear that I think to myself, okay, if I don't do this, then this will happen. If I don't have this will happen. But it's always just not pure fear that drives you. You have this thing in the back of your head. It's like, okay, if I don't take care of my family, my extended family, the people around me, then it's not as good as my life could be. So I have to push myself to do these great things as much as I can possibly do. And then, of course, then the next part is, like, I am driven to, like, I think a lot of people are a little bit driven to success and do the right thing and to make it. But there's a reason for that. And it all comes down to, like, it always is a circular thing, right? Just back to whatever your purpose is to make you want to do these things. So to me, like, it's a funny thing, because in the markets, in the news, in the movies, in every place you go to, if you did two stories, let's just take the news. If you did two stories, one is a very positive, good-natured story, or one is a very negative, anticlimactic, awful story, the one that has the fear is the biggest driver. So I think that's what a lot of things do, and especially in the news cycle. If you take a look at what's going on in American politics right now, it's not like they're really propping up candidates so much. It's more like the other guy or other lady is the worst thing of all time, and this is why. And this is what's going to happen. It's going to be World War III and going to be an apocalypse. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know.
Curious on past cycles. People say this time is different because of some of these political situations, or this war over here, or this thing. Do you think that makes any difference in the market, or are you like, look, dude, it's going to be, this is just the story of this market. There's no this market this time where they're like, I feel like every time it's like, this is the one that like insert something, like this is the one where everything happens, or this is the one that, if you don't get in this time, it's truly over. And this has kind of been the motto each cycle, I feel like. But
I don't, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be the big different change for your cycles break down and we're just into some new territory. But I will tell you, like, being around for so long, I remember in 2017, we talked about that this was going to be different because we're seeing more mass adoption, and we're seeing there's even a Bitcoin futures contract coming out. And then, there's even John McAfee, who's like the ambassador of Bitcoin, telling us that it's going to go to 1 million, and it's even mentioned on CNBC, MSNBC, and a host of other places. And it's just going to keep going up because that's what it is. This time is different, and it wasn't, and it went down, and then I heard the same thing actually, it's a funny thing. I heard the same thing in March of 2020 when we got the coronavirus. And they said Bitcoin has never gone through a global pandemic. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter, because it really paid a big toll on the markets themselves. And we thought, well, this time is different because this pandemic could wipe out half of the population of the world, and it could be like the worst thing of all time. So we got to sell now because nobody is into a speculative asset. And we can see that actually it went from over 10, 12K, dropped all the way down to 5,000, 4,000, somewhere around there. And people were selling off, and then all of a sudden it changed. And now we're here, and we're like, well, there is this war going on, Ukraine versus Russia, and of course Bitcoin has never gone through a war, and of course because of this we could now face World War III when Russia first invaded Ukraine. And I thought to myself, first of all, we've been in war. America's been in war perpetually for the last 2 decades. We're still in Afghanistan. Of course, we got out. Now we're over here, and this thing is going on in Russia and Ukraine. So of course, this is going to be the catalyst, and it's going to blow up when they came in last year, and it hasn't been. And then of course now we're starting to hear about BRICS, China, India, and Russia, Iran, and parts of Saudi Arabia are starting to congregate and start to go against the U.S. dollar. And of course, well, that could be a catalyst for Bitcoin, or it could be a negative par for the U.S. dollar, and it's going to slide down. All these things, sure, it could be, but until it actually happens, I will believe it when I see it. And that's pretty much where we're at. It seems like every single cycle, there's some major thing, and Bitcoin and the crypto market pushes through.
It seems to be. I have a question I wanted to ask, but something actually popped in my head. So one thing, my dad works in the Silicon Valley world, so he hears about Bitcoin. He's got a little bit, he's like in kind of, but he doesn't care that much. So he had this question, and I struggled a little bit to answer. I found myself surprised. I guess I was struggling a little bit, but he was like, he's like, I'll give it to you that Bitcoin is different than the rest. He goes, but like, what happens if the government just picks Ethereum? If they're like, no, this is the one we're using, and everyone's just buying this one up? Because what happens if like more people buy Ethereum and it's already starting to be deflationary? It's being used every single day. Like, what if they just pick Ethereum? He's like, then what? So what happens to Bitcoin? I'm like, well, I feel like Bitcoin was just still range. Like, yeah, but like for people like me where I don't care, I would just buy Ethereum. And I was like,
that's true.
I don't know. So what are your thoughts on that? Could that happen? I feel like Ethereum's really the only one in that realm of possibility, but I could be wrong.
No. Like let's take, well, first of all, let's break it down. Let's take Ethereum itself. If the government's like, we're going to use Ethereum, Okay, well, good luck with those transaction fees. Because if you want to move money around, it's going to be a wake up. Okay, but they're going to use layer 2 solutions. Okay, that's fine. They're going to use layer 2 solutions, and it's going to be very cheap, which it could very well be. So now America has picked Ethereum, right? There are still going to be people in America, and let's be honest, a lot of people on X, especially in our little realm, do not trust the government whatsoever. Like, oh, you picked Ethereum? Well, I'm going to double down on Bitcoin. That's fine. and then here's another thing. So if America doesn't pick Bitcoin, we'll still have it in there. But let's just say, like, I don't know, Vladimir Putin came out and legalized Bitcoin mining. And now he's like, I think we will pick up more of that. And then we will become the epicenter of Bitcoin mining. And maybe Bitcoin mining stays in America and whatnot, but it'll be like a vacuum if the regular folks who may not be into Bitcoin right now it flows over to North or South America. Now it flows over to parts of Europe, over to Southeast Asia, over to India, over to Russia, and of course into China because, well, America picked Ethereum. And then I just think to myself, I don't know if that would be a really great idea, especially for the layer 2 solutions. And I wonder if they would put on their CBDC, their central bank digital currency, on a layer 2 solution. And if that happens, then there's going to be a bigger discussion about why Bitcoin is even more important now, because Ethereum essentially becomes that ecosystem of the government and who trusts them. Although, whoop, did I miss you? Oh, sorry.
You good?
Sorry. And I will say this, but your dad, by him saying that, it would boost the price dramatically of Ethereum. And there's a reason why I diversify. I love Bitcoin. If it happens, that's great. But I still diversify. That's why 70% is into Bitcoin. It goes over there. And you guys can do whatever you want to, because I'm not here to tell you what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of people who are ETH bulls. And in this last cycle, people are like, dude, Solana is the move. But I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like Ethereum is the one that all the big people still load up on Ethereum. The ETH ETF has passed. Like, it seems like they kind of picked ETH. If there's going to be a second place, it sounds like it'll be them. We don't know what will happen, but that's interesting.
You know what? I always, like, I was with you. I was like, I don't know, because Ethereum is it's old tech. It went from proof of work to proof of stake, and it's a really sound money. But then somebody explained to me, and they said, well, there's two things. They said it's just like the internet, right? You have protocols on the internet, TCP/IP, HTTPS, and then you have this base layer, which is that layer for communication security, and then they just build on top of that, right? So you have all your websites and stuff like that. So they said, wouldn't it be the same thing? Like, you have a layer 1 solution, which would be Ethereum, then the layer 2 solutions could be transfer of funds, exchanges, it could be NFTs, it could be moving documents, whatever else it is, and even layer 3s. And that would be how the layers would work out. And you'd only use the base layer, like for just like how layer 2s are used. Like, you have like thousands, tens of thousands of transactions, and then you finalize on the actual layer 1 solution, just kind of like how Visa and MasterCard does it. You don't have a finality with Visa and MasterCard immediately. It happens after so many minutes or half an hour, however long it takes. So when I take a look at that, I'm like, that could be it. And then another thing that always gets me is, like, in Puerto Rico, there's a bunch of OG crypto people over there. When I talk to them, they keep telling me the same thing. They're like, Ethereum's still going to make it. It's going to make it because we're going to make it. I'm like, oh, all right, sounds good. But you cannot deny, Gade, like Solana. I mean, the first time I did a live stream with Solana and used the Phantom wallet, because I did two things. I did a giveaway with Ethereum, and it was the worst thing I ever did because it was super pricey and took forever. But with Solana, it was like boom, boom, boom. It was easy. I did it with Near, and it was the same thing. And I did it with Toncoin. It was the same thing. So
yeah, they're a bit easier. I pay anyone I work with. I try and get them to come to the Near wallet or Phantom. Either one, I'm like, dude, I'm happy to work with them, but that's the fastest, easiest, cheapest. I don't have to worry about it. I really like the way those work. Question here. So there was I don't know if it was from you. It may have been actually you. Someone was streaming about it and talking about this idea of these Amazon shops that pop up now, where you go in, there's no humans really in the store that are working there. And you go in, you grab your stuff, and you walk in. You've got this card or chip or something that works for you, and it just automatically takes care of all that stuff. For me, I don't know. When I go to restaurants, I don't care so much for the service side of things. I think maybe because I was a server at one point, most servers I get are just not that good at their job, and I'm sitting here judging them because I'm like, I could totally do this better than you. You're slow. Like, what are you doing? And so I'm like, dude, if there's an iPad and I could just do it all right there, I could pay right there. Like, I'm way more happy with that. I don't see a problem there. But then I saw all this rhetoric about like, what if this happens? It leads to this. And then, now we've got the CBDCs. Now they've got control over us. And then they lock you in the door. And like, now and I'm like, oh, is this way too down the rabbit hole? Or what are your thoughts on that and this direction that we're kind of headed as the human being has become a little bit more gearing towards tech? Crypto maybe adds to it. Like, what are your thoughts on all of that?
I think I think it's a good discussion to have, because if you believe it or not, some of the most crazy things that you may have heard about like 10 years ago became reality today. So like I hear the same thing about the CBDCs. If you get the CBDCs and they can shut you down, they're going to have a social score. If you don't hit the social score, then they're going to just take everything away. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then there was a protest in Canada, and there was a GoFundMe for all the truckers, and the Canadian government shut it down. And they said, hey, yeah, for whatever you guys just put here for these donations, it's not going to go through. And they essentially stepped in and stopped it. So even if we don't have CBDCs, I mean, there's other ways that the government actually steps in. I mean, for Pete's sakes, we just have Brazil right now has banned X, which is just a private company and an app. And they said, no, you can't use that because of X, Y, and Z. We know it's because they don't want to have any kind of free speech or more information to flow through. But it seems like when I first heard that about CBDC, I'm like, oh, come on. But as I look around and I see that all this suppression of the things that are going on, I think to myself, people might be right. And it scares the hell out of me. Because I got to tell you, things have just changed dramatically. I've been around for, roughly 5 decades. And it's amazing how things have swiftly gone to where I didn't think it would go.
And also, I was going to say for your streams, I'm sure you're prepping. You're kind of up to date on a lot of the things that are happening. A lot of the people, are, at least in your circles, are also keeping you informed, asking your opinions on things. In your day right now, where you wake up and then you're like, okay, time to go figure out what to talk about for the day. Like like notifications popping in your phone. Like, what's a day in your life look like?
The day, it starts there. This dog right here. I walk her. I walk her around 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my God. 4:30 in the morning? You're waking? No way.
Kate, when you get older, and if you have older people, they'll know what you're talking about. Like, as you get older, for some reason, you just wake up earlier. I don't know what it is. Just
4:30 is early though. That's
4:30 is pretty early, but I mean, I gotta get stuff done. So like, this is like an hour, and then I'll come in, and there's always like things on. I have to check. I don't look at social media for that hour walk. I don't turn my phone or anything. I just try to adjust. Come back, black coffee always. And go through the requests, the emails, the follow-ups. Oh, my favorite part, looking through my comments to see how many people called me a moron. That's always fun. Like I just did an X post of, I called it my fans are the best, and it's about 20 different ones of people just laying into me. And I said on this one, I said, I appreciate free speech, and this is why. Because if we didn't have that, you wouldn't be able to find these gems. And it's just 20 different things going through. So I'll go through that, and then I'll start to look like I have a research assistant, and he'll send me like all the different things that are going on in the crypto space. And nice. I'll kind of make it like the show. Got to work out, at least. I mean, I work out 5-6 days a week. Then the pool, nice. Shower, video, and come over here. And then from there, it's about the things that I need to follow up on. It's the short-term rentals. It's doing the things that I forgot to do. And then also we have another business. It's a sports facility. I just got to make sure everything's up to snuff with that. But we don't even run that anymore. So we just kind of doing other stuff.
Where do you like spending? Go ahead.
Oh, and then I get to do cool shows like this with Kate.
Let's get it. Yeah. That's my favorite. I really like doing the streams. I did the podcast on my own individual channel, my personal channel, for a couple of years. Then I kind of ran out of people, and then coming to Wolf, we met a ton of more people, and I was like, okay, perfect. This is amazing stuff. I had time to jump back into the podcast arena and chat with people at length. With spaces are great because you get a panel of 10 people, you don't really get to go fully into people's stories and figure out what makes them tick, things that they like, and places where they're spending their time and things like that, and you get more into the nuance of conversation. Where do you find that you like spending most of your time? If you had an extra a few hours a day, and you're able to still wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
to spend most of my day, probably more with my wife. We know we both work. It's a funny thing. Like I think I work now more than when I was working for somebody else. Because when you work for yourself, there's all these things you got to do. So then it's kind of like one of those things where, okay, now it's not just Kate, you know how it goes. It's not just the show. It's meeting up with the other people for whatever kind of projects, or prepping you for the next news cycle, or doing some of the things that would lead you to the next big thing. And it's kind of like, sometimes I'm like, I cannot wait to step down. So to say that's probably why I want to step down a little bit, just to take a little break. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, more with my wife, and then more just a little bit of lounging around doing nothing. I'm good at that.
So am I. I have a lot of people tell me like, dude, I cannot sit still. And I'm like, bro, when I tore my ACL and I had surgery and they said you're gonna have to sit in bed for a month, like I don't know how you're gonna make it. I was like, dude, I'll be fine. I'm like, give me a laptop and I'll literally just couch potato it out for a month straight. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. You know how much stuff I can do on the internet? Everything. and now with ChatGPT, I can do even more. So it's just great.
Yeah. ChatGPT, I found myself using more than Google. I'm a little bit nervous because I've seen a lot of people talk about it. It's biased. It's not telling you, the exact answer. I'm like, dude, I feel like Google is going to tell me the same type of, I'm going to get the same kind of bias lean. I don't know where else to go. Like I've tried Grok. I don't love using Grok as much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm finding I use AI pretty much every day now.
Yeah. And then like what's cool about AI is that it can make you models. Like, so if you're thinking to yourself, okay, you ask yourself, well, what's the average price for Bitcoin as it bleeds against Ethereum, looking back over the last 5 years, and give me a percentage month by month. Instead of like looking at that data, you can just ask ChatGPT, and then it'll ask you like, give me some data. You can pull it from CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, stick it in there, and now you say, make me a model. Does it. So I like that.
Yeah. Yes, it's crazy stuff, dude. It's crazy stuff. I find myself very excited when I look at kind of what's going on in the world and the possibilities that come because of the tech. I do find myself sometimes, you had mentioned jumping back into healthcare potentially as a alternative passion. I also had a public health degree. So healthcare was also something I thought about. Especially, it's still something I think about. I'm like, if I have no idea what comes to this career, this side of the world, one thing people talk about in a lot of crypto companies, they're like, hey, what does it look like if you guys win or if crypto wins? They're like, well, I guess no one would know, I guess is how it would win because it would all be happening in the background. And people talk about it all the time. And I'm like, okay, so what happens to us, bro? Like, what about all the people talking about crypto? Are we cooked? Like as soon as it happens, we all reach mass adoption. And okay, guys, it's been great. We accomplished the mission. Go get a job now. Or is it going to be that everyone bought enough Bitcoin? We're all good. Yes, I don't know. It's just something I think about sometimes,
You know what? I never thought of it that way. But now that you say that, I bet you like people like you, Kate, will be useful even more because the new people that come in, the information they're going to get is going to be from whoever they talk to. That could be a crypto bro or somebody who's just, really well-centered or something in the middle. So like they're going to search out people who have been around for a long time, hopefully, to get some of the information that could steer them away from catastrophe, right? Because again, when I got in, I heard some things and then I heard some other things about self-custody and I was like, I'll just go this other route because it's way easier. And it wasn't drilled into me. So like those types of things, diversification, the things that we should really look at is like maybe even the next big thing. So like, I think somebody like you are going to be really in demand to guide the next group of people that come through. And it's a massive amount of people that are coming.
There are a lot of people coming. I am curious too. So, we kind of project into the future a little bit, got some thoughts on some of the things going on today and in the future potentially. I am curious on how you were, in the high school years, the college years, those 20s and 30s, like what kind of attitude you had toward the world. Were you trying, did you have like a chip on your shoulder type of mentality towards life? Were you kind of like, just kind of curious on that side of the Rob life?
I had an anger problem as a kid. And I think it's because like when we talked about, because when I was a kid, there was bouts of homelessness that we talked about. Right. And it was like a chip on your shoulder. Cause it's, when you show up at school and you're wearing like, the most ratty mismatched stuff, and the kids make fun of you, you always get a little ticked off. And then as time went on, I found sports, a little bit of football, a little bit of basketball, volleyball, which kind of I stuck with because it was the easier sport. And it was the easiest sport to play for me. And then I realized when I was younger that I could play anywhere, play sand volleyball with my brothers at the time, and I could go to any bar and start drinking, even though I was 18 years old. That was probably the best part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But growing up, I mean, it was just as soon as I could get out, I got out and joined the Army, and 8-year stint there, and then that kind of calmed everything down.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I was going to say I made a post a little while ago, kind of talking about my experience a few years ago where I took a chance. Everything kind of went wrong, and then I was sort of screwed for a little while. And it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I know a lot of people who had way stickier situations than I was in, but it certainly makes you think about some stuff and puts you in a different kind of mentality, I guess, towards the world. Where you mentioned you had an anger problem, you think, and you were saying it stemmed from just a bit of maybe like spite / frustration with the situation in at hand, or was it?
It's a funny thing because when you're younger, you have a chip on your shoulders because of that, and then you get into sports and become competitive. And there's like two types of people out there. I think, like, you've got the people that are like super competitive and they have drive, say like a Michael Jordan, who cannot lose at anything. It doesn't matter if it's basketball, it doesn't matter if it's gambling, it doesn't matter if it's shooting craps, whatever. He's got to win. And there's some people like kind of in the middle, and there's some people like, I don't really care, right? But then growing up, I had this big thing about being, I had to win. And I just think that, as time goes on, thankfully, you realize that, wife didn't like it, kids didn't like it. And as time goes on, you just got to give that stuff up because it doesn't really matter in the long run. So that's when you start to go from the internal and kind of focus on the external, which is the people around you. You can improve yourself, but you got to improve everybody around you. And that's what I think where everything kind of calmed down.
Yeah, that kind of ties into what I was going to move towards just now, was sort of like talking about you mentioned some of the low points you've had throughout your life and career as well. And I was kind of curious on what those steps look like. You mentioned a few years ago separating with your wife. You mentioned, some things that happened when you were younger. And I know whenever I hear about, like, we run an entrepreneurship space and we talk about real stories. And I every time I preface it with, like, I don't want to hear any generics. I don't want to hear like, get back on the horse. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. I already know, everybody knows all those things, but like, tell me some actual steps you took or an actual experience you had. So with those lower points, I am curious on what were those steps that kind of you used to sort of pull yourself out of that hole, and what that journey looks like. Like for me, it was very slow process, took way longer than I was hoping it was going to take. And it did not look nearly as pretty as I thought it was supposed to because of social media. And it was just a grind. It was just a grind every single time. And so I would love to get your perspective on it.
So like, this is a very broad question, Cade. This is a very broad question. I can,
if you can zoom in on one, if you want.
No.
You can zoom in on one particular.
Okay. I don't think I've ever told anybody about this story. This was in, 2003. I think it was 2003. And my wife is from Juarez, Mexico. And she's like, hey, there's this league over there at the Parque Aquatica. It's a water park, right? And they have the sand volleyball league, and it's it's pretty competitive. Some of the guys from the college plays down there, and there's some guys that are pretty good. You want to play? Yeah, sure. So get a couple of your friends to play. So I picked the best two guys that I could, Joe and Alex, and then we came down there and we played. And it was a funny thing because like the Parque Aquatica, nobody watched the games, right? Just this little league there. But for some reason, when I went there and I played, everybody stopped to play and heckle me. I think it was because of this super pale skin, right? And we're in the semifinals. I remember this. We're in the semifinals, and it was close. The ball gets called out. It's clearly in. I hit the ball. It was clearly in. And then the ref's like, it was out. And I was in. It's out. It was in. I told him some bad words. Went back. Same thing happened. And this was clearly, and he called it out, I think out of spite. I'm not for sure. So then what I did was again, people are heckling me and everything else. And I took the ball, and there was one ball that we were using, and I punted it as hard as I could. And in Parque Aquaticas, it's on this gate, and it shoo out there into like the trees. So now we have no ball to play with. And then I was shouting at everybody. And essentially, I almost got killed because I was essentially wanted to fight with the entire Parque Aquatica. That was the lowest point I can say. As we were driving back, my wife says, if you don't go to anger management classes, we are done. And I was like, okay, whoa, I think it's time. So that was probably one of my lowest points. And then you just then you realize, like, you go to therapy and you figure it all out, and that's it. So I guess the lesson for everybody is this: it's not too late. If you screw up, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you start; it's where you end up. And if you meet me now, you'd never know. But that's how it was back in the day.
When your wife drops a bomb on you like that, and you're like, "Geez, all right." Like, either you're pissed off at me, or maybe a combination of both. You're like, "Hey, like, I know you can do better. I married you for a reason. You're the guy." But we gotta work through this kind of thing. Like when you're put in that kind of scenario, the next steps, you mentioned therapy. I'm sure a few other things. I'm sure, I don't know, but like some people I know can have like an overnight change where they just like light bulb moment and everything changes overnight. I feel like the majority of people, it's like 5 years, 10 years, they still have explosions and they're like, crap, I thought I was past this.
It's a funny thing because like it wasn't overnight, that's for sure. It took a long time, took a lot of effort. But as a funny thing, as I keep saying this word, as you move forward and you get older, you realize what's really important. And those games are just games. Money is just money. The accolades are just success. But if you have your family and you have your friends and you have your health, then you're good to go. And there's this lady that has followed Digital Asset News. Her name's Erin. And since I've been on the show, she has been battling cancer the whole entire time. And I see her talk about going into the hospitals. I see her going through the chemo. I see her going through radiation because she always posts it. And like a couple of weeks, she'll do great. Months, she'll do great. And then she'll have a relapse. She'll go back and forth. And I always look at that and I think to myself, it's just tough for Erin. And I think to myself, and I said this before many times, a healthy person has 1,000 wishes, but a sick person only has one. So if you have all these things together, if you have and people say, you have your health, but whatever, trust me, working in healthcare, I can tell you, if you have your health, you have everything. If you have your family and friends and you have purpose, you're good to go. And that's really what it comes down to.
Dang. Wow. That's real. That is very, very real. There's a book, I think, by someone famous who changed the world, who mentioned that a very similar thing. He was like, you guys don't realize at the end, when you're in bad health, ain't nothing else matters pretty much. You're like, where's my wife? Where's my brother, or like whoever it is. And you're like, I want to see them. I just want to sit here and be in their presence.
Well, exactly. Like when you blew out your ACL, right? And you were in great shape. And then all of a sudden, like you couldn't do much. It sucked, right?
It did. So I guess the second time I wasn't that mad about it. I got some time to just hang out. But the first time I was like, I had all these dreams of playing college soccer. I thought they were gone, overnight, and they kind of were. My D1 aspirations were over that night. I was still able to pull through and play some NCAA, but it was not the same after that. So it wrecked me pretty bad emotionally, because I was like, damn, I remember when I had torn that ACL, that next weekend was supposed to be I had a private tryout with Coastal Carolina. They're a top team on the East Coast. And I was like, this is it. I was like all state that year. I was whatever the accolades, all region. I forget what the accolades are called, but I was like killing it that year. And I just got wrecked on like a stupid side game. It was like preparing for like the big leagues. And I just got wrecked, like doing nothing. And I remember I was like, that blows. So you're right. Yeah. When you're in that kind of situation, or even a smaller situation, you get a headache and you're like, dude, my life is over, man. Like all I want is for this headache to be gone, like, or you bite your tongue or something like that, So even on a small level, I think you're right.
That's tough, Cade. Well, hey, I mean, everything happens for a reason, right?
It's true. Listen, we're coming up on the hour here. I was gonna run through like 2 or 3 quick little fast Q&A questions here, and we'll wrap up. I really appreciate you kind of spend some time. I know got a million things you got to do today. So I love doing these streams, and I know you do too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it each day. But I think your dog's like, bro, it's time. It's time for a walk. It's time to get out there. Let's get it. Okay, cool. Okay, actually, you mentioned you go for a walk in the morning, 4:30 a.m. What's going through your head, if anything, or are you on total Zen mode?
I'm like, man, I'm tired. That's what I'm saying. Man, I'm tired. I can't believe this dog wakes me up every day like this. Usually that's how it starts for like the first 15 minutes. And then I start to think about like what I have to do for the rest of the day. Like if I have some kind of presentation that I put together for the channel, I think, okay, what did I not do? What can I add to this? What can I do to make it better? What can I do to make it clear? What can I take out of it to make it more simple? And then I start to think about, okay, well, I have this other project, which we were going to talk about today, but we got to push back. And I think about, okay, did I talk to the guys over at XYZ? Did I get them all the information? Did I make that clear? And I just kind of think about like all the things I'm supposed to do for the day and how I can make it easier or make it more simplified. And that's pretty much like the whole hour-long walk, and then just kind of tune out for a little bit because I'm not finally in front of because our world is screens, right? If I'm not in front of this screen, then maybe I'm in front of a TV screen, or maybe I'm in front of a phone screen, and it sucks. It's one of the few times I can get away, or when I'm actually playing sports.
Definitely. Question here. I've had some very, very weird dreams over the last few weeks. I don't know what's been in the air, but I've had some weird dreams. I'm curious if you have any reoccurring dreams or dreams that keep popping up, and if there's anything there. I know some people don't dream at all, but I'm curious.
Dreams, not that I can really say that have come up. I can't, and like a lot of times when I'm waking up, I'm just like, first I'm like, am I in a dream? And then I wake up like, oh no, this is it. This is early, but no. So on that one, Kate, I got nothing for you.
Got it. No worries. First NFT you bought. I know you bought an NFT. Or any that come to mind.
These nuts. I know.
Did you really? You got into that project?
Yes. And I'll tell you,
I think I've got a couple still.
I'm working with the developer, Michael Roberts.
Yep. I had him on the podcast.
Oh, you did? Oh, you know, Mike. Yep. So I'm working with him on something. And I can tell you, if you've ever got into to that NFT project, first of all, it is the funniest community you'll ever go through in Discord, obviously because of the name. And I found them when my first dog passed away from a lymphoma, and I was feeling pretty shitty. And I found it, and it made me laugh, and it was great. I reached out to these guys, like, it's an NFT. I'm like, those are goofy, but I bought it, and it was great. And that'd be the first one. So anyhow, if you bought a D's Nuts NFT at some point in your life and still have it, you're going to be very happy that you hung on to it. And that's all I can tell you.
Okay, very cool. I think I bought one, and then I was gifted one after I did the podcast with those guys. I really enjoyed them. Him and Cookie. That's it. That's exactly it. Yep. So yeah, both great guys. Had some really good alpha drop from Michael, because they've built some really cool games on the App Store. And he actually was sort of the inception of a question I still ask to this day on gaming projects. I'm like, is it better to create a game as big as Skyrim or Call of Duty, or to zone in and make like a temple run or a paper toss, like something you can play on the toilet kind of thing? And he had some really interesting perspectives on that. So I still remember that comment that he made. It was a soundbite that I had made that did pretty well, I think, on TikTok, and I kept it up here for future conversations.
What was his answer? Because he's had 2 #1 hits. He had Run Sausage Run and CoinDash.
He thinks that it's better to build a smaller game than anyone. He mentioned, like, in the soundbite, he was like, I need Cookie to be able to pick it up while he's in the bathroom taking a #2. He needs to be able to pick this up and play it and have fun. It's kind of how he described it. And I was like, all right, that makes sense, actually. Build a little bit of brand, build a little bit of a community, have some fun, do some challenges here and there. And then you're like, okay, like, we're going to build this next thing. It's going to be a couple levels bigger. Stick with us kind of thing. You guys had a great experience. I was like, that makes sense.
He's spot on. I think the next game that he drops, it's gonna be pretty good.
Probably. Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, final 2 questions here. Favorite TV show, if you have one.
My new favorite TV show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, with Andy Samberg. It's on Netflix, so I just keep watching that. That's pretty much one way. And then there was one. It was it's on Apple TV. It's damn, I forgot what it is. But yeah, we'll just go with Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Ted
Final.
Lasso. That's what it was. Ted Lasso. That was one of my
Ted
favorites.
Lasso. Got it. Got it. Heard. Final question. Is there anyone you wanted to shout out before we wrap up the show?
Shout out. I want to shout out to everybody who was stuck with me through the bear market, because that was not easy. And I know that it sucks. I know, like we talk about, it's like throwing sand in the ocean. But just like Cade was talking about before, it seems like it's always going to be the same. It's going to be different. It never is different. I can't say for 100% assurance, but I'm telling you that if you just stick around, nothing goes down forever. Nothing goes up forever. Right now we're down. Just stick around. You're going to like where we're going to go.
Let's go. Love it. Wise words from Digital Asset News, or Rob, if you guys know him. Dude, thank you so much for spending some time with us and chatting, going live with me. I love these. And so it's great to kind of come back into the game and chat with you about life, entrepreneurship. We talked about the future. We talked about red pill content. Like, we pretty much covered anything left in the world. So guys, I was going to say, if anyone else had any questions or comments, definitely throw it in there. I'm sure we'll jump back on to the stream or space at some point in the future. But yeah, Rob, thanks for coming on, man.
Excellent. Always good time, Kate. Always good time.
Let's go. Let's go. Guys, if you enjoyed the conversation, please like, retweet, follow, subscribe. Depends on what platform you're on, but definitely give Rob a follow. He should be in the description. If you're on Twitter streams, I made sure to tag the right account, so the video stream will have him tagged. So please give him a follow, check out his streams, and prepare for the bull market, because he'll be gone when the bull market comes, but then he'll be back when the bear market is here. He'll be able to help you when it matters. And yeah, guys, have an amazing rest of your day. We have a podcast tomorrow, I believe, with Crypto Wendy, and we're going to be doing more podcasts and streams and videos and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I have a great time. And Rob, you're welcome back anytime.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have an amazing day, guys. Take care and stream